Welcome to Spooky Ass Shit. I am your host, Eric Dwinells, and tonight we are going to be talking all about the new Adam Sandler Netflix movie, Hubie Halloween. And this is probably not something I would normally cover because it's not like that I consider it a great Halloween movie or something very special in that sense, like a brand new all-time classic. In fact, to be honest with you, I might not even have watched it aside from the fact that it has Halloween in the title, so maybe I would have. But longtime listeners will know that I appeared as an extra in this film, and now that it is released on Netflix, I can tell you for sure that you can actually see me in this movie. So we are going to talk briefly about my thoughts about the movie. But really, what I want to talk about is the whole process of being in this movie. I've talked about it a little bit before, but now I want to tell you the full story, what it was like to be an extra in Hubie Halloween. Before we get to that, though, let me tell you about the website. That is spookyasshit.com or spookyas.com. They both take you to the same place, and that is the show's blog page. From there, you can listen to most episodes, even the ones that are no longer available on your favorite streaming service. You can also find links to all of our social media. We are at Spooky Ass Shit on Instagram, and you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/spookyas. While you're there, you can join our secret closed group, the Spookaroos. That's for the true blue fans who want to do deep dives and discussions about the episodes and also topics that they like to bring up, whether it's their favorite Halloween specials or theories about alien abductions and that kind of thing that maybe you don't want the whole world to know you spend way too much time thinking about. Okay, so let's talk about Hubie Halloween. First of all, how did I become involved with this production? What happened was she's a friend of the family, but she's really like an aunt. She was my actual aunt's best friend. Her name's Betty. And, growing up, she had a kid around my age, me, her kid, and my cousin, my aunt's kid. We all used to play together. And Betty is a wonderful person and a wonderful friend of the family. And like I said, basically, she's really an aunt to me. She had sent me the casting call on Facebook. And it said, Adam Sandler is filming some kind of Halloween movie. At the time, I thought it was called Hubie Halloween, as did many people, I came to find out. They're going to film it in Salem, and they're casting extras in Marblehead. And these are the dates, and here's what you need to do. And at first I saw it, and I said, that's cute, but I'm not really an Adam Sandler fan. And, I've never tried to be an extra in a movie or anything like that before, so I don't think this is really for me. But a couple other people posted about it on my Facebook page, and then I got to thinking about it, and I said, you know what? It could be fun, because it's a Halloween movie, and basically, since I was a little kid, watching my infamous 1986 Halloween tape that my mom made for me, full of Halloween specials and Halloween episodes of TV shows, I wanted to be in a Halloween special or a Halloween episode of a TV show. So I said, you know what? I know it's an Adam Sandler movie and he doesn't have the best reputation lately, and I have not really enjoyed a Adam Sandler movie since maybe, I don't know, Big Daddy. I liked Funny People. That's like a different kind of Adam Sandler movie. That's the one that shows you that he knows what he's doing now is not great. But he doesn't care because he's making money off of it. And his friends are making an awful lot of money off of it. So I'm going to talk about Adam Sandler later on. Not because I have some great personal story about him. He was there while I was filming. I do have some thoughts on Adam Sandler, but we'll get to that later on. So anyway, I decide, hey, what the hell? Maybe I will do this. And my current companion, she agreed that she would come to this casting call with me. And for the casting call, you had to wear your Halloween costume. And there were certain rules. It couldn't be like you couldn't go as the Joker or, like a character that was owned by some other company because, Netflix was making this thing. So you had to be like generic kind of Halloween costumes. Now I went in what was my Macho Man Randy Savage costume, but I altered it just enough so that you would think like this is a wrestler, obviously, but it's not like, infringing on any trademarks or anything necessarily. My companion decided she was going to dress up too and, go be part of this casting call. We really decided like last minute. And it was really basically because we had nothing else to do on a Saturday and Marblehead's not that far from where we live. So we decided we'd drive over there and, hey, what the hell, just give it a shot, right? And actually, I remember that I was debating. I really wanted to go as the Witchfinder because, it's going to be shot in Salem and it would be cool to have the Witchfinder in it. He's a part of Salem and that would be neat. But my companion there, she said, no, go with Macho Man because it's big and colorful. And I think that they'll probably like that costume better overall. And so she just went, I don't even know what you'd say she was because she just kind of wore all black and put on some like dark makeup and she looked very pretty, but was not an identifiable monster and didn't look all that flashy. And I did tell her, I said, look, I think, just like you told me to try to stand out more, you should probably try to stand out some more, maybe with like a skeleton face or like put on some like vampire teeth and like a real dramatic vampire makeup or something like that. But she didn't want to listen to me, or she didn't feel like she had time to listen to me. And so she just went with what she had. Now, the process was very simple. You walked into the room, you filled out some paperwork, stating who you were and all that kind of stuff with your contact info. The casting director, I didn't know this at the time, but the casting director was there. And she was very funny because she'd tell you to sit down so you could listen to her talk, although she had a megaphone and we were in like a school gymnasium or auditorium kind of area. And she was yelling things like basically fill out your paperwork and then stand in line. And then if you haven't heard my speech, come sit down. But all her speech was fill out your paperwork and then stand in line. And then every once in a while, she would just say like random things. And one of the things she said, she was like, this movie will star Adam Sandler. He's very funny. And like, that's all she said. And then she'd just go back into her like, come sit down, go stand in line, fill out your paperwork. So that struck me as funny. And then you just stood in line and they took pictures of you either in the group or solo. And then you were done. That was it. However, I did mention that I had my Puritan Witchfinder costume. And so I emailed them too, just because, I was like, well, maybe they'll want that because, I explained I'm a street performer and I do this character and everything. And I sent that along in an email as well, because you could also audition through email. So that was in June of 2019. And then in early July, I think it was, I got this phone call.
Hi, this is Brad from the Adam Sandler film. I'm calling because I'd like to check an available work date with you. If you're interested in this opportunity, please call me back at my office number. Again, that date is July 17th. Please call me back. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
I remember that I was in the Home Depot parking lot when I got that voice message. I don't remember what I was buying there, but I do know that that's where I was. And I called him back from the Home Depot parking lot, and he called and said, oh, yeah, we would like you to be in this. We'd like you to come. And he had a little slip of the tongue, and he said, we want you to come as Randy Man Macho Savage. And then he said, wait, that's not right. And he corrected himself, Macho Man Randy Savage. And I said, well, for legal purposes, we should probably just keep it Randy Man Macho Savage. And I like that name anyway. So, so that's who I play in the movie, technically. the non-gimmick infringing Man Macho Savage. And then also so that was that, and they called me and told me they want me for that date, July 17th. But then they actually called me again on a voicemail that it wasn't a voicemail because I was answering the phone once I recognized the number. They called again and they said, hey, we want to use you in an additional scene in your Witchfinder outfit. And this was going to be the scene that takes place in the diner. But as we learn in Hollywood, as the big time Hollywood actor that I am now, things can change very quickly, and all the glitz and the glamour of making a movie. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But first things first, I did agree to do this date, July 17th. And then I went and told work that, hey, I need this time off because I'm going to be in this movie. I'm going to be an extra in this movie. And work was very accommodating. I believe it was less than 2 weeks' notice. So it's very kind of them to be accommodating. But they understood. This isn't something you get to do all the time, right? So they understood, and that was no big deal. And it's a good thing it was no big deal because this turned out to be kind of a prolonged process. Making a movie is tricky, and it depends on a whole lot of things. And things go wrong, and days get moved. And days and times certainly did get moved around. So I got many, many phone calls. I don't remember the exact order of things, but I do remember that, we'd be on, and then they'd call and say, oh, we're not going to film this day. We didn't get everything done that we needed to the night before, so we're going to do it on a different day. And then they call back and say, oh, cancel that. We are doing it on the day we scheduled. And there was a lot of stuff like that. It was very frustrating, to be honest with you, because I'd keep calling work and say, I think I need the day off. Maybe I don't need the day off. Eventually, I just ended up taking basically that week off just in case. And I went in on the days that I could, and I took the days off that I needed to. But they called back and they said, hey, we would like you to be in the diner scene. I told you that part. But then they called back and said on the day, literally as I'm putting on my Witchfinder outfit, because we had to arrive in costume, as I'm putting on my costume to drive to the location where they're filming, they call and they say, oh, we're here now and the diner is much smaller than we thought. And we just don't need all the people that we thought we would need. So, unfortunately, we're not going to use you in this scene. And I said, oh, well, all right, that's disappointing. And I was really kind of bummed out about it at the time. Although after the experience that I had in the scene that I was in, I think you'll understand why, in hindsight, I wasn't so bummed afterwards. But I was still looking forward to this. I actually improved my costume. I got new boots and a couple other little tweaks that I did, a new headband, new boots, and I was really looking forward to it. I wanted to be the best representation of Man Macho Savage that I could be. So on the day that we filmed the scene, and the scene that I'm in is an outdoor park festival scene, and it was filmed in Salem, on Salem Common, which is a place that many of you have probably been to because it's directly across the street from the Witch Museum. And we had to get to where they hold the extras. And we had to show up at the college campus to catch a bus that would take us to this location. So all of us extras show up in our costumes, and the bus drives us over to the holding area. Well, not exactly. They drive us over to Salem Wharf area, and we're standing outside there, and we're waiting, and nobody's there to greet us. Nobody's there to tell us where to go, and there doesn't seem to be another bus coming. We were standing outside there for a half hour, and then somebody in the group of extras had somebody in the production crew's phone number, I guess, and they called and said, hey, the bus dropped us off here, but we don't see anybody. We're just kind of in this shopping area, and, it's Salem, So people aren't looking at us too oddly, but it is the middle of July and we're all out here in Halloween costumes. So what's going on here? And it turned out the bus had dropped us off at the wrong spot. We were about a quarter of a mile or so away from where we were supposed to be, but we could kind of see where we were supposed to be off in the distance. So we had to walk over to these tents. Now, that was just the first thing in this comedy of errors that would end up being this night that I served on Hubie Halloween. And I say served because it did seem kind of like jury duty before the whole thing was over. So we get in line once we get to these big tents, these big holding tents, and we have to wait and fill out forms again. And they're making it all seem very rushed, like you have to do this right now. And if you don't do it, you're going to be kicked out of the movie and we can't use you and you might as well just go home right now. So, okay, so get in these lines, fill out these forms, and then you have to get in another line and get your costume looked at, and then you have to go into hair and makeup, and you got to do it right now. Come on, quick. Okay, so, another thing I should point out. It was unseasonably chilly on this day, although it had been very warm. It was a July day. It had been very warm the day before. So in this holding tent for the extras, they had these ACs blowing, which was nice if it was, a warm day, but it was a chilly day. So it was actually freezing inside these tents. But you couldn't go outside the tents because they kept yelling at you, like, you need to be exactly where we need you to be. You need to stay exactly where you're going to stay so that when we call you, you're ready to go, or you're going to miss your chance to be in this movie and you're going to miss your bus and all this stuff. So, by the way, I had no misconception about how extras are treated on a movie. Like, I understood that we are the lowest rung and we're basically cattle to everybody involved. The people that dealt with us directly, I don't know what the Hollywood terms are for them, but the people that dealt, like, it was their job to kind of guide us around, they actually weren't like mean people to us or anything. Like, they treated us more or less with respect, but still they had jobs to do and they were definitely rushing us around. And it turned out to be a whole lot of hurry up and wait because, within the first 2 hours, probably less than that, I had filled out my paperwork, turned in my paperwork, gone through costuming, and gone through hair and makeup. And then I sat there and waited and waited and waited. But before all that, when I was in line to get my costume checked, I was standing behind this young woman who was in costume as like a mime. And she was shivering so hard, like her whole body was trembling. She was so cold. And I felt bad for her, and I wanted to offer her my robe, my Macho Man robe. But they kept yelling at us, if you're in this line, you're in costume and ready to go. You don't have to put anything on. You don't need to make any adjustments. You are ready to go. If you're not ready to go, get out of this line. So I couldn't take off my robe and offer it to her. But the robe is very big. And I could see, like, she really, really was shaking. And I felt bad for her. So I said, I know this is kind of weird, but I can see how badly you're shaking. I don't want to take off my robe because they keep yelling at us, but it is very big and you could probably kind of fit, inside it without having to like snuggle up to me or anything. So if you want, you can take, part of my robe here and cover yourself. And she was like, actually, yeah, I totally do want that because I am, about to turn to a popsicle here. So she did that. But the way the robe is, it's kind of like a kimono. And I realized then that basically what I had just done is signed myself up for holding up my arm while we made it through this like giant line the whole time. And so I said to her, this is really kind of awkward now, but I didn't realize, I wasn't thinking things through. I have to leave my arm up if you're going to stay in this robe, unless you're okay with me putting my hand on your shoulder, resting my hand there. And this was over the robe because there was an opening and everything. Like, it's not, And she she did think this was a little bit weird. She seemed to anyway. But she was like, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, you're nice enough to let me, borrow your side of the robe here. So, yeah, go ahead. So I tried to do it in the least creepy way with the least contact possible, but I still had to rest my hand on her shoulder. But I figured we'd get through this line and then we'd be off in hair and makeup, and that would be it. I'd never see this girl again, and she'd be on her own to get warm. Or at least when we did get through the line, then I could offer her my robe, and we wouldn't have to share it with me. She could just wear it on her own. So we go through costume wardrobe department. They okay my look, and then we go into hair and makeup, and for some reason they decide to paint my face. Maybe to make me look a little bit less like Macho Man, I don't know, but they decide to paint my face, so my face is painted in the movie. When I go back out, I sit by myself for a little while. I start talking to this guy who's dressed as a vampire, and we're just kind of sitting there chilling. And then the next thing I know, my little mime friend comes over and sits next to me. So it turns out we had basically become friends for the evening. So at this point now, I do offer her the use of my robe on her own, which she accepts. And basically, we spend the next several hours chatting, me, this mime girl, and this Dracula guy. Also, the Dracula's guy, his name was Neil. He's actually in several scenes in the movie as an extra. He's in the insane asylum scene, and he's also the guy dressed as Prince in the diner scene. But in this park scene, he was like a Dracula vampire character, a very suave-looking, mustachioed Dracula. His name's Neil. And then there was another guy that was dressed as a construction worker. I'm almost certain his name was Sean. And then there's a woman, unfortunately, her name I don't forget. Her name I can't quite remember. She had a head wound and like either scissors or a screw sticking out of it. And then the mime, I feel bad because I don't remember if her name was Christine or Christina. I feel it was like something like that. But we're going to call her the mime girl for the rest of the story. So we just sit and chat and joke around with each other. And I realized that it's going to be a long day because they told us to get to the location. I think it was like around 3. But our scene wasn't supposed to take place until nighttime, and it was an outdoor scene. So I said, well, this is July. It's not going to get dark till like 9 o'clock. And it's only like 5 right now. So we're going to be here for quite a while. And boy, was I right. We had a whole lot of time to fill. So I told them about this very podcast. We started talking about spooky things. We started talking about Halloween things. I don't remember what else we talked about, but it was pleasant. And they were all very nice people. We took some pictures. I'll post some of those on the Instagram @SpookyAssShit. And even became Facebook friends with a couple of them, although oddly, not the mime girl. We'll get to that later on. So keep in mind, I had a current companion at this time. So there was no, I don't want to make it sound like there was some kind of romance brewing between any of these people that I talk about, especially Mime Girl. I really was just trying to be a nice guy, even though it kind of seemed like maybe I was like trying to put the moves on her or something, but I promise you I wasn't. So while we're having dinner though, so dinner. So they say, you get a free dinner when you're an extra, but you eat literally last. So we sat there waiting for this dinner that they promised us, and there were like snacks and stuff, but you couldn't go get those. Those were for like the principal actors, and there was a table for the crew, and there was like a separate thing for extras. You could get like maybe a bag of chips or something like that. I think it was Pringles. I think you get like a little single thing of Pringles, but you couldn't get like the good stuff. You couldn't get the bottled waters and all that kind of stuff. You could just get a little bit of Pringles or something. Whatever. So then we finally did get dinner, but they didn't give it to us until 10 o'clock. And we were all in costume, and we had to wait in these big lines for dinner. And the strangest thing about this was, I forget exactly what the dinner was, what the main course was, but it was either like a meatball sub or like an Italian sub. It was some kind of like sandwich that you needed bread for. But oddly, they insisted that the bread had to be served at the end of the line, even though like the meatballs or whatever were being served at the beginning of the line. And many people commented on this, and we were like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, if you're giving us meatball subs, you got to give us the subs so we can put the meatballs in them, not the other way around. Otherwise, you just have a giant mess on your plate. But they were like, no, I don't know. They told me put the bread on the end. And, you know, unions must be real strict in Hollywood because these people were sticking to it, and it was a giant pain in the ass. So all these hours we've been sitting around waiting, and now they finally serve us dinner. And before you can even sit down, they're yelling at you to hurry up and finish because the bus is coming and you got to get going. So finally, after all this time, 10 o'clock at night now, and that's not an exaggeration, that's what time they serve dinner. I remember. Now they're telling us, okay, hurry up and eat. You got to get on the bus. So we go and we get on the bus. By this point, me and the mime girl, we have made a friendly, platonic connection, and she is like, we're gonna stick together. We're gonna stick together, and we're gonna be in this movie together. Okay, fine. So then we are driven over to the park, the Salem Common, and they lead us over there. And I will say that stepping onto the filming location, I want to say set, but I guess it wasn't like a set because it was an actual location. Stepping on to the actual location really was very cool. They had real Salem vendors set up just like you might see in October, although they wouldn't set up in the park, they'd set up on Essex Street. But they had the real booths and everything, and all the real like merchandise that you would see on display in October in Salem, set up in the Common with like the actual people that work there. So like Die With Your Boots On and Georgia Made This and some of the other local shops, they were all there. So that was really cool. And then they had these orange lights hung up, and it just gave everything like a nice cool orange glow. They had this giant pumpkin that you could walk through, and they don't show it in the movie. And I'm so surprised because it looked so cool in real life. And then, of course, everybody's there in costume. A lot of Salem Street performers appear in this scene and throughout the movie. You can recognize a lot of Salem Street performers. And they had this apple bobbing station and all these Halloween decorations out. And it really was like setting foot on a Halloween special. And I guess that's because that's exactly what it was. But it was, you know, like a childhood dream come true. So that part was really, really cool. They told us just at first, for the first thing they were filming, just walk around, talk to each other, although not too loudly, and, look at the booth, see what people are selling. We had a little mock fight between me and Neil Dracula, and not a physical fight or anything, but just some nasty looks thrown each other's way. And that was fun to play around. And then the assistant directors were coming around and pulling people to bring to the front for the actual scene that they were going to film. And they passed me over a few times, but then eventually one of them passed, and he kind of looked at me twice, and he said, "Oh, we got to have Macho Man." So he pulled me up front, but he saw that I was with the mime, so he said, "All right, you two both come with me." So me and the mime girl are actually right behind the star of the scene, who we didn't realize at the time, but it was going to be George Wallace, the comedian. And I think a lot of people on location did not know who he was, but as a comedy fan, although I can't claim to be overly familiar with his work, I did at least know who he was, and it was very cool. I was standing right next to him. Okay, so if you watch this movie, right around the 53-minute and 40-second mark, somewhere around there, that's where this scene takes place. And George Wallace is playing the mayor. He's an African-American gentleman, and you're going to see him apple bobbing. I am directly behind and beside him during that scene. It's very quick. So if you're looking down, you'll miss it. But if you look up, you'll see me in my Macho Man attire. Don't look for the Witchfinder because he's not in this scene. Look for Macho Man. And you'll see me standing right next to my little mime friend and pretending to be super excited that the mayor just bobbed for apples. And the scene that plays out, we could hear them acting. Kevin James was also there. A word about the people that were on set. They did make a big deal. They told us, like, oh, don't try to talk to the actors. Don't take pictures, this kind of thing. Kevin James definitely seemed to have an attitude of, like, do not talk to me, do not come near me, do not approach me. Maybe I'm projecting on him because he didn't say any of those things. But that's just the vibe that I got from him, as opposed to George Wallace, who was very friendly and was chatty and would talk with us and make jokes and seemed to be in a good mood, even though it was very late at night or early in the morning, depending how you look at it, I guess. Adam Sandler did make an appearance. He came out and talked to everybody for a little bit. He'd get on the PA system and make jokes about what's his name? Doug Heffern in there, Kevin James, and he was like, Kevin James, get your lines right. Everybody wants to go home. The director was there. I think his name is Steve Brill. Could have that wrong. And he, I remember, the only thing I remember him saying, he asked for an apple box, and it was literally an apple box for the apple bobbing scene. And he's like, oh, now I know where that term comes from. And I was like, I don't think it was that hard to figure out. But anyway, and he also said, someone said something about the extras have been out here a long time. And he said something along the lines of, well, they're the ones who wanted to be in a movie. This is what you get. So that's my memory of the director. But overall, it just took a really long time, especially considering when you watch the movie, it lasts all of like 5 seconds. But that scene took all night long. I don't think we left there until about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. And we got to location around 11. And now by this point, me and Mime Girl had become pretty friendly, and we were, just talking about life and everything this whole time. So I gave her a card for the podcast so she could listen to it and find us, on the socials and all that. And then at the end of the night, we were taking the bus home, and she turned to me and she said, hey, this is kind of strange, but I live not too far from where the bus picked us up, and I was just going to walk home, but now it's such a crazy hour in the morning, and I'm still in my makeup and everything. Would you mind giving me a ride home? And so I did. That was no problem. So we said goodbye, good night, and I drove home myself, and I was very afraid I was going to fall asleep on the way home. I probably should have just pulled over and taken a nap, but by the time I realized that, there was really no good place to pull over and take a nap, so I just powered through and made it home, but it was very risky. I didn't get home till after, I think, 5:30 in the morning. So that was a very long night. And like I said, when you see the movie, my whole scene is like 5 seconds. And to be honest with you, being an extra in the movie was not particularly fun. Now it's fun because now I get to say that I was in this movie. A bit of a mixed blessing because it is an Adam Sandler direct-to-Netflix movie. And I'm just an extra in it with no lines or anything. But still, it's part of Halloween history now. It's part of Salem history. They left those lights up, actually. So if you visit Salem in an evening, you'll see that those lights are still there in the park, and they turn them on in October. So you'll see those lights there. And you can see exactly where we filmed that scene. Again, it's right across from the Witch Museum. So my thoughts on the actual movie. It's an Adam Sandler movie. I'm not a huge Adam Sandler fan. I think the humor is as basic as you can get. His accent alone is a huge turnoff for me. But, I think they were just like, oh, I'll just do a funny voice. And like, oh, we'll have this happen because it's funny. Like, in the most basic way. So it's not my style of humor. I don't care for that kind of humor, but I don't judge people who like it. I'm not saying you're dumb for liking it or anything like that. If you like it, hey, good for you, man. I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you're able to enjoy it. And, as far as I say, like I said, it's just cool to be in a Halloween special, even if it is an Adam Sandler direct-to-Netflix one. Now, as for Adam Sandler himself, he gets a lot of grief for making these kinds of movies for cash grabbing, basically. Like, they give him a lot of money and he films his vacations, as they say on Red Letter Media. He goes on vacation with his friends on location somewhere, and they basically use the movie as an excuse to be there, but really they're just chilling, and that's why a lot of his movies are set on a tropical island or something like that. Salem, obviously, maybe not as glamorous, but a lovely town. Salem and Marblehead. They filmed some things in Marblehead, too. And, Adam Sandler, I will say he wasn't in the scene that we filmed, but he came and he said hello to everybody, and he did some jokes over the PA. So I think that probably Adam Sandler is a good dude. That is my verdict. You hear mostly good things about him, maybe not his movies, but about him personally, you hear good things. And, I think it was cool that he came out and said hello to all the extras. There's a ton of extras out there. It was nice of him to, do a little joking around on the PA system so that we all had something to say about, oh yeah, Adam Sandler was there, and, so that's that. I can't say that I would necessarily recommend the movie, but on the other hand, it is a Halloween movie, so I'm pretty much always going to check out something, especially with Halloween right in the title, right? And it's just cool, like I said, hindsight now, with the experience of that very long, and rather boring night behind us, it is cool to look back and say, like, yeah, I was in this. So those are my thoughts on Hubie Halloween, but I would love to know what you guys think. Have you seen it? What did you think? Again, if you want to look for me, look for the big sparkly guy around the 53-minute and 40-second mark. It's right around there. It might be a little bit before, a little bit after that, but it's the apple bobbing scene. That's what I remember. We had to pretend to be so excited about apple bobbing for a really, really long time. And the scene is still in that same scene, but the mayor walks over to Kevin James, and then you can't really see the crowd anymore, but you can see like our hands and sometimes the top of our heads and everything. They filmed that many times. And we could hear all that dialogue, all that, trick or treat, smell my feet that the mayor says. And, Kevin James is there saying, we got to cancel Halloween and, all this stuff. You can see us in the background, and they filmed that several times, and we had to pretend to be excited about apple bobbing that entire time. You don't see it in the film, but actually what happened in the part that you don't see is the mayor bobs for apples. He picks the apple with his mouth and he walks over to Kevin James. While he's walking over to Kevin James, the guy running the apple bobbing, contest, the man who says, "Oh, what a mayor, what a mouth," he points to me, and then I'm the next contestant, and I go up and I stand over the apple bobbing thing, and I didn't get to actually apple bob, but I had to pretend like I was about to many, many times, and in between that, pretend to be very excited about apple bobbing with my mime friend, who you can also see clearly in the movie. So that is the story of Hubie Halloween. Mime friend, if you're out there, hit up your boy. Let me know how you doing, what's going on. And same for all you other folks that I met on the film. Of course, like I said, there are several street performers from Salem in the movie, including Bora the Green Witch, Dennis the Zombie, Salem's Sophisticated Psycho. He's got a real nice shot at the end of the movie. He's right over Adam Sandler's shoulder in one of the credit scenes. Salem's Frankenstein, and even Georgia made this. Georgia from Georgia made this. She's a little girl that does, Halloween designs and patches, and she does some really cool stuff. I've got several of her patches. You can see her kind of blurry in one of the scenes, but she's there. So it's fun to see real, actual locals in the movie and people that I recognize. And every time I've watched it twice now, so I keep seeing new people that I know as I watch. I do wish that I'd gotten to be in a scene that involved Ray Liotta or Steve Buscemi. I would have enjoyed that, but oh well, them's the breaks. All right, so again, please let me know what you thought of Hubie Halloween, either through email. We are reachable at spookyassshit@gmail.com, or of course through any of our social media. You can find us on Instagram at spookyassshit, or on Facebook at facebook.com/spookyass. I also want to tell you, I talked about this last time, but please consider checking out the videos that I have been making for the Witchfinder YouTube channel. Now, YouTube doesn't let you get a custom URL until you have 100 subscribers, and I don't have 100 subscribers right now, so I can't say go to youtube.com/whatever. I have to tell you Just search Witchfinder Salem on YouTube and my videos should come up. Right now I'm doing a whole series on parts of the witchcraft trials, like deep dives. Like I just did an episode about one of the convicted witches who would end up becoming a witchcraft victim named Sarah Good, and it's almost an hour long and it's just about her. So these are like real deep dives for you history nerds. It's basically like a whole episode of Spooky AS just talking about one of the convicted witches, just one. So there's going to be more of those. And of course, this year, to help coop some of the loss that I'm experiencing from not being able to street perform like I normally do this time of year, I am running a GoFundMe. Thank you so much to those of you that have donated already. And if you have not and you would like to, I promise you there is no amount too small. We do it dollar by dollar on the street, so even $1 is fantastic. You can go to gofundme.com/witchfinder20 and you can donate there. And follow the Witchfinder on Instagram, Witchfinder of Salem on Instagram, and look for Witchfinder Salem on YouTube, and that will take you to my videos. And I would love it if you could subscribe and like and share and get notifications and all that other stuff that YouTubers say. And of course, I would love it if you could like and share and review and subscribe to this very podcast that you're listening to now. I hope you enjoyed hearing my experience on Hubie Halloween, and I just wish that Tom Cole had been here to discuss it with me. We had some scheduling conflicts, so that wasn't able to happen, but maybe someday we'll get his thoughts on Hubie Halloween as well. Until next time, don't be afraid.